Welcome to MIAA Access. I'm your co-host, Brad Haydank.
And I'm River Riley. So today, for our show, we will be talking about the MIAA Women's and Men's Championship that took place last month in Kansas City at the Municipal Auditorium.
Yeah, that weekend in Kansas City, we had a few upsets. I know we ended up getting the 1 seeds in the championships.
Yeah, normally we don't really see a lot of upsets up there, I feel. Sometimes we get some blowouts, but I feel like we had some close competitive games this year, Brad.
Yeah, especially with the Washburn and the Gens at the end, and then they got to meet 5 days later in the regional.
Yeah, that was a really cool opportunity for them. Unfortunately, on the men's side, as we all expected, it was the Washburn men's dominating.
Yeah, Washburn has been strong, both men's and women's basketball. Anyway, back to the show today. We are going to be looking back on the MIAA championship teams and their paths to Championship Sunday, with even a surprise segment at the end. We may get a little visit from a coach, supporting staff.
Oh, if I could think of any of the coaches that have some personality out there.
There's quite a bit.
There are quite a bit. I'm kind of curious who it might be, Brad. Do you know the surprise?
I'm not sure I do. We'll have to wait and see.
I'm looking forward to it. Well, don't go anywhere. Your access starts now.
Welcome back to MIAA Access. On the women's side of the bracket, the Jennies from Central Missouri met the Ichabods from Washburn in the championship game.
Yeah, let's take a look at how Washburn got there. Washburn took on the Gorillas from Pittsburg State in their first game. So Washburn started off hot, led the first quarter 18-6. Thank you to Yabari Wadada. She had a double-double herself, 19 points, 10 rebounds. The band got them all fired up. Coach was fired up. They were having a good game. Fortunately, Pittsburg State, they did make a push through the second quarter. Started off the second half, though, just about as strong as they started off the game, with Washburn leading that 21-10 in that third quarter. Clara Swearingen for Pittsburg State, she went perfect from downtown with 15 points, led the team there. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough for them, as they just kept turning the ball over too much, as Washburn led the game, 23 points off turnovers there, and they had a whopping 34 points in the paint compared to Pittsburg State's 12 points in the paint. So it's really just an unfair matchup whenever you get a team that's just dominating the paint like that. It's not really very fair for the other team. As you can see there, the putback and the finish from Washburn there.
Yeah, and you see it, the support from the Washburn faithful was so evident in the Municipal Auditorium in downtown Kansas City, part of the reason they were able to make the run.
Yeah, they traveled well there, and Washburn got that first dub pretty easily there. Took care of business.
As you see, Washburn defeated Pittsburg State 60-49. Big start to the MIAA tournament for the Ichabods. After defeating Pittsburg State, the Ichabods took on the Griffins from Missouri Western. What a game between the Ichabods and the Griffs in Game 2 for the Ichabods in their run to the championship. Yabari Wadada, we've already said her name one time. She had a double-double in this game in only 26 minutes, 17 points and 13 boards. A lot of it was because of her free throw efforts, 7 of 11 from the charity stripe. Missouri Western hung on in this game. It was only a 4-point basketball game at the end, 67-63 final. Mia Morrill was a big reason for that. She played all 40 minutes, scored 21 points for the Griffins. Then you can't forget about Nikaya Harris, also for the Griffs, double-double in the performance, 11 points and 11 boards. It was really a hot start for Missouri Western in this game. Through the first half, they led by a considerable margin. They were up 15-9 through the first quarter. Then they outscored Washburn by 2 more in quarter number 2 to take a halftime lead. But Washburn slammed the door in the fourth quarter. After tying 20-20, if you look just in quarter number 3, the Ichabods took it 22-10 in the fourth quarter to really slam the door on the Griffins and take a 67-63 victory there in Kansas City. There's a lot of numbers you can point to for the Ichabods. You can look at their three-point percentage. As you see, 6 of 18. The Griffs only 5 of 20. That 5 of 20 was big time for the Ichabods if you look defensively, because that's only 25%. So really a lot of things went the Ichabod's way to take the 4-point victory in Kansas City.
Yes, it did, Brad. Next, we'll take a look at the Jennies' path, starting with a blowout against Emporia State. Here we take a look back at this game. It was just dominated by Reese Schaff and Taylor Weiser. Reese Schaff with 23 points, 9 rebounds off of a perfect 3-point percentage, 3 for 3 from downtown, and was shooting 50% from the field. Then you had Taylor Weiser with a double-double herself, 16 points on 12 rebounds, as the Jennies had 36 total team rebounds, and their 3-point percentage was better than their field goal percentage, so that always helps as a 3-point shooting team. Once those shots are falling, it's pretty easy to start running away with that game. Emporia State's battle, they just couldn't really hold up to the Jennies there off Vanessa Coleman's 10 points. That was really all that they had. They had a strong performance off the bench, though, from Caitlin Sanders, who put up 20 points, which is considerable, way more than the rest of the team there, as they only put up a total of 50 team points. You know, throughout the game, it was a little close there, but then once it got to that fourth quarter, the Jennies just dominated, only allowing 5 points and scoring 23 points for themselves. So just domination in that first round game for the Jennies there.
Yeah, big performance from the Gens to start off their MIAA tournament with that big shooting from beyond the arc, making over 10 3-pointers. The Gens' next challenge was the Lions from Missouri Southern, and this sure was a challenge for Central Missouri, though the scoreboard may not have reflected in the end. But the Jennies, a team that really shot the 3-ball well, as you see Hayden Heim shooting it well there as well. But the Jennies, only 5 of 23 in this game from beyond the arc. That's just under 22%, but they defended well. That's what got the Jennies through this game against Missouri Southern, because Missouri Southern shot 2 of 14 from beyond the arc. They were 17 of 61 from the field. That is only about a 28% field goal percentage. So the Jennies defensively found a lot of success against Missouri Southern, against the Lions in that game. For Moso, Grace Frazier was a star player with 13 points for the Lions. Lily Thomas led the team with 16 points, 7 of 13 from the field. For the Gens, Taylor Weiser led the team in scoring with 19, and Reese Schaff had another double-double this season, 14 points and 10 boards.
Yeah, those bigs for the Jennies, they just continue to dominate in the rebounds. That brings us to our championship matchup, where our 1-seeded Jennies of Central Missouri took on the 3-seeded Ichabods of Washburn. Let's take a look back at that game there. So Central Missouri came out hot, leading 18-10 after the first quarter. Thank you to Reese Schaff's 16 points. They were 4 of 16 throughout the whole game on 3-pointers, but unfortunately all 4 of those 3-pointers came in the first quarter for them. After that, Washburn kind of shut down on defense, only allowing 7 points in the second quarter and 8 points in the fourth quarter for Central Missouri, as Washburn just kind of heated up there. Led by Gabby Giovanetti, she had 17 points, a perfect 10 for 10 from the free throw line. So once you're making those free throws are important in the game of basketball, as we all know. And so if you're hitting those shots, you're going to win the game. Then they led with 10 more rebounds than the Jennies had. Jennies just weren't able to get those boards that they needed. Then we take a look here at the fast break points. Washburn broke away with 12 fast break points, and the Jennies unfortunately only got 1 on that category. And second chance points, those rebounds, once again, those rebounds led to Washburn getting more points there. What do you got to say about this game, Brad?
Well, they say it's hard to beat a team 3 times. The Jennies beat Washburn twice in the regular season, really swept the regular season, if you will. Washburn came out with a brand new fire here at the Municipal Auditorium in Kansas City. The Jennies, it wasn't their best game offensively, but that's really credit to Washburn's defense. Earlier in the season, head coach Dave Slifer, when talking about Washburn, he said that they are probably the best defensive team that they'll face, at least in the MIAA. That really showed in this game as the Jennies tried to face off against Washburn, but the Ichabods, again, they took control of this game early, and they rode that throughout on the heels of their defense. Big win for the Washburn Ichabods to punch their ticket to Mankato, Minnesota.
You're right. I think the Jennies there, they just got out-physicaled by the Washburn Ichabods in that game, and it really showed. They came out, popped them in the mouth, and Jennies just didn't have an answer for it.
Yeah, you can tell by the final score, 53-44, low-scoring affair. Washburn really thrived defensively. That's it for the women's side of the bracket. When we come back, we will get to the men's side. Don't go anywhere. This is MIAA Access.
Since our founding in April 1931, every trooper who has worn this uniform has earned it. Thousands of men and women apply to be a Missouri State Trooper. Few are chosen. Only the elite are successful. Make no mistake, this training is hard, and the job that follows is even harder. There will be moments when you're tired, frustrated, and pushed to your limits. That's when you'll rely on your strength, your training, and your sense of purpose. This profession demands that of you. But with that demand comes honor of protecting others, of wearing this uniform, and continuing a proud tradition that began more than a century ago. I want to see every one of you walk across that stage on graduation day, proud, prepared, and ready. So dig deep, push harder, earn it. Can you do that for me?
Sir, yes, sir!
You know, bruh, I feel like that highway patrol commercial spoke to me. What do you think? Do you think I'd be a good highway patrolman?
Yeah, I've ridden with you. Now, I don't doubt that you have the physical qualities.
Oh,
But behind the wheel, I'm not so sure. You might have to pull over yourself.
You know, I have gotten a speeding ticket or two, so it'd be hard to kind of make that fair enough for everybody else. All right, I guess I'll stay a student then, Brad.
Oh, well, let's get back on track and talk about this men's bracket, where the Ichabods of Washburn met up with the Hillcats of Rogers State. The Hillcats defeated Fort Hays State in the first round. Let's take a look. Looking at this Hays and Hillcats game, Rogers State took it 70-63, and they really had to keep a lot of Tigers at bay to do so. You can look at Lucas Hammocky, who found so much success in the 2025 MIAA Men's Basketball Championship. He was held to only 3 points, 1 of 7 from the field. His one make was a three-pointer, 1 of 3 beyond the arc. But the key players for Fort Hays were Kyle Grill and Dan McCuna. Grill had 17 points and 8 boards, shooting 2 of 4 from distance, and McCuna 14 points on 7 rebounds. But really the story here is the Rogers State Hillcats and how they began their run. Tim Jordan Jr., the University of Central Missouri transfer, made his name known in the first game of the MIAA tournament. 16 points, 6 of 10 from the field, 1 of 2 beyond the arc. Then you have to look at Caden Fry as well. 15 points, he was 5 of 7 from the field, 5 of 8 from the charity stripe, added 3 boards to his performance. And then there were 2 more Hillcats who were in double figures, Jabron Anderson and Andrew Mason. Anderson with 13, Mason with 12. Rogers State shot the ball behind the arc pretty well in this game, 38.5%, 5 of 13 from three-point range, and they really capitalized off turnovers. So you see Fry able to slam one down. It's that kind of thing. Those were the energizers for Rogers State in this game. They had 21 points off of turnovers. They ended up winning this game by 7. They won the points off turnover margin by 10 points. That was a huge, really, difference in this game to see Rogers State take it by 7.
Yes, it was, Brad. And after defeating the Tigers of Fort Hays, the Hillcats won a nail-biter, kind of a surprise against Missouri Western here as we take a look at this 72-70 matchup that turned out. I think a lot of people were surprised by Missouri Southern's performance here as they had 3 different players reach that double-digit mark, led by Jaden Taylor with 27 points for the Lions. Really a strong performance from him, but unfortunately they just did not shoot well other than him and a couple other guys on the team. It was really Rogers State that came down the line and dominated with 4 separate players reaching that double-digit mark with Jabron Anderson, Andrew Mason, Caden Fry, and DeMondre McKnight coming off the bench with 11 points there. Strong performance off the bench there for McKnight. They didn't shoot well from the 3, but it really came down to those bench points and those fast break points, which they had 17 of that helped them out there in the end of the game. And also came down to free throws. 18 free throws made by Rogers State. And in a close game like that, a nail-biter, only a 2-point game, at the end of the game, you're getting those fouls and bonus and double bonus. You got to have those free throws, and that's really what got the W there for the Hillcats and took them to the championship.
Yeah, this game came down to a last-second shot that Rogers State was able to lay in at the buzzer because Tyrone Wright was a problem for Missouri Southern, but Rogers State survived. So next, we'll take a look at the dominant path the Ichabods took. First, by defeating the University of Central Oklahoma. A rematch of last year. Central Oklahoma was ranked number 8 in 2025. They took down Washburn, who was seeded number 1. It was a big performance last season from Central Oklahoma. They were looking to do it again. But this time, it went the way of the Washburn Ichabods. 34-58 from the field, 12 of 24 from 3. There were 3 Ichabods in double figures, and 2 of them scored 20-plus points.
Geez, nearly 20 more field goals from the field there for Washburn as they won by nearly 40. And they continued their championship quest by defeating the Griffins of Missouri Western next up in their closest game. Although it was a 16-point game, it was their closest game of the tournament, as they were led by Jack Batchelor, who put down 7 threes in this game, 27 points altogether there, as he made most of his three-pointers he took. And thank you to double-double from their star, some would say, Brady Christensen, as he had 10 rebounds and 17 points on 7 of 8 field goals and 3 for 4 from downtown. So as we could see, it was just the dominant shooting from Washburn that the Griffins just could not keep contained defensively there. Although they did have a strong push there for a little bit. They had 4 players in that double-digit mark there, 15, 12, 11, and 11. But it just wasn't enough, not enough coming off the bench, and not enough defense to stop the Washburn Ichabods there, who were just completely dominant here, as we see a runaway dunk from one of their stars there, Tyson Rudd. And there was just no answer that the Griffins had for that Washburn defense and that Washburn offense.
You have to remember that Griffins team is no slouch. They made it to the men's regional, the Central Regional, but Washburn shows how good they were, especially that week in Kansas City. That brings us to our championship matchup, where the 1-seeded Ichabods of Washburn took on the 3-seeded Hillcats of Rogers State. This was a big one. I mean, it's championship day, championship Sunday at the Municipal Auditorium in downtown Kansas City. It felt like it was Washburn's game from that tip-off. Yes, Rogers State won the tip, but Washburn pretty well controlled everything except from that. Washburn had 5 players in double digits. All 5 of their starters scored 10-plus points, led by Bryson Smith with 21 points. But how about Brady Christensen in this game? A double-double, 15 points and 15 rebounds to lead Washburn. For Rogers State, they had 2 in double figures. Bernard Amoria had 11. Tim Jordan Jr. had 12 points, 2 big leaders for Rogers State this whole tournament. But Rogers State was unable to convert on the boards. They only had 4 second-chance points as opposed to Washburn's 29. You look at points off turnovers, 18 for Washburn and 5 for Rogers State. This lead changed 0 times. Washburn had the lead this whole entire game, and you see it. They took it big, 91-59.
Yeah, Brad, pretty much as everyone expected there, just pure Washburn dominance. I mean, from the start of the season, really all the way up through the tournament.
Well, Washburn had only lost 1 time, and it was to the University of Central Missouri, and it was a 2-point game. So Washburn didn't play many close games this season.
Yeah, they didn't. I mean, they had that other overtime matchup with Central Missouri, but other than that, not many close games for them. So they were comfortable just with the lead.
Yeah, they were sure comfortable with those huge leads that Washburn was, and it really is interesting because we'll look at the regional here in a second, but those big leads could have hurt Washburn going into the regional.
Yeah, they did. I mean, I guess they just didn't really have anybody that punched them in the face, and so maybe they just weren't ready for that.
Well, that will do it for the men's side of the bracket. When we come back, we'll see how the MIAA fared in the NCAA Central Regional. You're watching MIAA Access on the MIAA Network.
highest recognition for the highest performing student athlete, given to the top female and male student athlete for their impact on and off the playing field, from the top NCAA Division II athletic conference in the country. Follow your favorite teams all year long and tune in this June to see who takes home this prestigious honor. MIAA Ken B. Jones Award, presented by Summit Point Financial Group.
3 teams from the MIAA made their way to Mankato, Minnesota for the NCAA Women's Central Regional. Fort Hays State received the 3 seed and were the first MIAA team to play in Mankato. Despite the efforts from MIAA Player of the Year Telexa Weeder, Fort Hays fell to Harding in a true 89-82 barn burner. How about a rematch of the MIAA Women's Championship? It was the Jennies and the Washburn Ichabods playing for the second time in less than a week. This time it was the Jennies who were victorious 64-55. From there, the Jennies faced 8-seeded Minnesota Duluth, who had just defeated 1-seeded Minnesota State Mankato, the hosts, but the Jennies fell to Duluth 81-48.
Yep, Brad, and 3 teams from the MIAA made their way to Topeka, Kansas for the NCAA Central Regional. The host Washburn Ichabods surprisingly fell in the opening round to the 8-seed Minnesota Duluth, 64-62. The 3-seeded Mules then met up with conference rival 6-seeded Rogers State. Coming off of that championship, Rogers State did not have an answer for the Mules. Mules came on top 88-77. The Mules would then advance on to lose to Oklahoma Baptist 75-63, who I believe were the regional championship. Were the regional champions?
Yeah, Oklahoma Baptist,
Oklahoma
I believe,
Baptist was, weren't they, Brad?
Way. And really, if you look at it, Minnesota Duluth had a weekend for both men's and women's.
How
both
about that?
Teams 8-seeded, both teams upsetting the number 1 seed.
Yeah, good weekend for Minnesota Duluth there. I'd say those fans were happy.
And now let's move on to our next segment. The following is for entertainment purposes only. So, River, I heard you got to ask Jennies head coach Dave Slifer a question during the postgame conference.
Yeah, I love Dave, man. It was nice to get to ask him a question
on a first-name
there,
basis?
Yeah, we get our haircut at the same place, so we are kind of on that first-name basis there.
So what did you get to ask him about?
I asked him what he thought of one of my inspirations, Martha Stewart. And let's take a look at his response.
I'm going to admit right now, I've probably got 10 of her husband's videos that he does, and he's been doing them the last 15 or 20 years, and it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, Reese Schaaf, that's my reaction too, because what does Martha Stewart's husband have? What videos does he have?
I'll be honest, I didn't even know she had a husband, but actually I think we do have a video. Let's take a look at that.
All right.
Well,
What does this show become?
drop it like it's hot, Brad. You know how they say it.
Snoop. Is that what it goes? Yeah.
That's how it goes. Yep, Snoop Doggy Dogg, D-O-double-G. All right. Thank you for joining us here on the MIAA Access. We'll see you next time.